Students, see in the previous video we understood that is how the asexual reproduction takes place in unicellular organisms and asexual reproduction in multicellular organisms. So asexual reproduction in unicellular organisms takes place through binary fission, then multiple fission budding, and this asexual reproduction in multicellular organisms takes place through fragmentation, regeneration, budding, vegetative propagation, and spore formation. So today let us that is understand the sexual reproduction. So we will start with sexual reproduction. So I told you that in asexual reproduction only one parent is required, but in case of sexual reproduction two parents are required, or we can say two germ cells are required. Sexual reproduction always occurs with the help of two germ cells, that is the female gamete and male gamete, or those two germ cells. Two main processes occur in the sexual reproduction. See, the sexual reproduction, okay? So it occurs through two germ cells. Now, which are these two germ cells? That is, one germ cell is the female gamete and the other germ cell is going to be the male gamete. So these two gametes are the two germ cells. So the sexual reproduction which is there, it is going to take place with the help of these two germ cells. So which are the two germ cells? The female gamete and the male gamete. Gamete means what? They are the germ cells. Two main processes occur in the sexual reproduction. So two main processes takes place in the sexual reproduction. So which are the two main processes? One is the gamete formation. The second one is going to be the fertilization. So first of all, let us study what is this gamete formation. Gametes are formed by the meiosis. In meiosis, chromosome number is reduced to half, hence haploid gametes are formed. So you have studied this. That is how the mitosis and the meiotic division takes place. So what is going to happen here? The gametes which are there, they are going to be formed by which process? Meiosis process. And during this formation of gamete, okay, in meiosis, what is going to happen? The chromosomes which are there, the number of chromosomes is going to be reduced to half. Hence, haploid gametes are formed. Two types of gametes. One is haploid, second one is diploid. What is diploid? Di means two, isn't it? So haploid means single. Now these chromosomes which are there, they are always present in pairs. Now what happens is, here the chromosomal number which is there, it is going to get reduced to half, and therefore the haploid gametes will be formed. Fertilization. So in fertilization, first step is what? Gamete formation. The second one is going to be fertilization. So you saw in gamete formation what happened? The number of chromosomes is going to get reduced to half, that is haploid gametes, the number of chromosomes are formed. Now here see fertilization, a diploid zygote is formed in this process by union of haploid male and female gametes. So what is going to form? A zygote is going to be formed in this process of fertilization. So in this process of fertilization, what is going to happen? A diploid, you saw in that is during gamete formation, haploid gamete had been formed, isn't it? Now these two haploid gametes, that is the male haploid gamete and the female haploid gamete, this will unite with each other to form a diploid. So this haploid means what? Single. So two single gametes, that is one is single male gamete and the other one is single female gamete. So both of them are going to unite together to form a diploid zygote. The zygote divides by mitosis and embryo is formed. So now what is going to happen? You saw over there that in case of gamete formation, meiosis division took place. Now here when the zygote is formed by the union of male and female gamete, that time the zygote, once this haploid male gamete and female gamete, they will form one single cell and that is going to be zygote. So this zygote is going to divide by mitosis now and then embryo will be formed. So what happens? This zygote, one cell, okay, which had been formed, this is going to divide now into number of cells. Now and then what is going to form? An embryo, a mass of cells will be formed and that is going to be embryo. The embryo develops to form new individuals. So this embryo which has been formed. Now how embryo was formed? Once again let me tell you, see, that is this male haploid gamete and the female haploid gamete. These two gametes united with each other to form a zygote. Okay, single zygote was formed. So then what happened? This single zygote, it will start dividing into number of cells like this. And then what happens? Now see, a number of cells will be formed to form a mass, okay, mass of cells called as embryo. So this which has been formed is going to be embryo. Okay, now see, now this embryo which has been formed, okay, it is going to develop to form a new individual. So this embryo first, which was a mass of cell, slowly it will start, that is bifurcating, that is it starts dividing into number of organs. A number of organs will be slowly formed, okay, and it develops into a new individual. Two parents, that is the male parent and female parent, are involved in this type of reproduction. So here that is in case of sexual reproduction, what happens is two parents are required, that is the male parent and the female parent. So the male parent and the female parent, they are going to be involved in this sexual type of reproduction. Fusion of male gamete of female gamete parent and female gamete of female parent occurs. So what is going to happen? We saw the union takes place between which one? The union between the male gamete and the female gamete, that is they will unite, or we can say they will fuse with each other. Fusion will take place, okay. And then what is going to happen? The zygote will be formed. So due to this, new individual always has the recombined genes of both the parents. So what happens here? You saw both parents are involved here. That is the male parent and the female parent. That is the gamete of the male parent and the gamete of the female parent. And therefore here the new individual which has been formed by the union of this male gamete and the female gamete, it is going to have the combined genes of both male parent as well as the female parent. Hence, the new individual shows similarities with the parents for some characters and has some characters different than both parents. So, what is going to happen? There are some characters which are similar with the, that is might be with the father, and some characters with like mother, but there might be some characters which do not resemble both your parents. So, if you take in your case, you must have seen, okay, you can observe that some of your characters might be like your father and some of your characters might be like your mother. Say your, for example, might be your hairs are like your father, might be your eyes are like your mother. So, what is going to happen? That is, some of the characters might resemble your father, some of the characters might resemble your mother, but there might be some characters in you which do not resemble both. So, what is going to happen? There changes takes place. So, diversity in living organism occurs due to this genetic variation. So, what has happened here? The genes which you will be having are the combination of the genes of your father and mother. So, what is going to happen? There is genetic variation over there. Genetic variation helps the organism to adjust with the changing environment and thereby to maintain their existence. So, what is going to happen? The environment is changing. The environment is not the same as it used to be in before many years, isn't it? There are lots of changes in this environment. So, the characters which you have got, it has to get adjusted to this type of changing environment. So, this genetic variation which takes place in you, okay, because of the combination of the male gamete and female gamete, it's going to help to adjust with the changing environment. Due to this, the plants and animals can save themselves from being extinct. So, because of this, what is going to happen? The plants and animals, they are going to get saved because of this genetic variation. So, they will become resistant towards the changing environment. They get adjusted to this type of environment. So, it helps them from becoming extinct. Now see, let us think, okay, what would have happened if the male and female gametes had been diploid? See, the male and the female gametes are haploid, isn't it? So, when the union of this male gamete and the female haploid gamete takes place, that time a diploid zygote is formed. But if the male and the female gamete both would have been diploid only, then the zygote would have been, what type of zygote would have been formed? That is tetraploid, the some zygote would have been formed, isn't it? Now that it causes a lots of disorders. So this cannot happen. Now see, what would have been happened if any of the cells in nature had not been divided by meiosis. Now due to the meiosis, that is due to the process of this meiosis division, what is going to happen? The diploid cell, okay, first forms haploid cell, and then the haploid, that is gametes, fuse with each other during fertilization to form a diploid zygote. But if, okay, this that is the cells, they are diploid. Now if the division doesn't take place by the process of meiosis, then this diploid gametes would have been again fused with each other. The diploid gametes would have fused with each other to form what type? Again, tetraploid zygote. So again it will form, that is, it's going to cause a disorder. Now, sexual reproduction in plants. Flower is structural unit of sexual reproduction in plants. See, in the last video I told you, in the next video when you are going to see, you keep one hibiscus plant, that is flower, with you, so that you can that is, it becomes very clear to you the parts of the flowers, isn't it? So once again let me tell you, come on, all of you, take this flower with you and start observing the parts. Flower is structural unit of sexual reproduction in plants. It consists of 4 floral oles. So there are 4 floral oles, okay, as calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Now see, androecium, you can see this. Now see, this is the calyx, okay, the green color. Then the colorful which are there, those are the corollas. You can see it's named over here, okay. So that is the corolla, okay. Then comes the androecium. This is the androecium. So the anther and filament, okay, which are there, you can see this, this is anther, and the filament, you can see the thread like. So both this together, they are the androecium. And then comes, okay, the stigma, style, okay, ovary. All this are included in gynoecium. So there are main 4 oles. Which one? One is the calyx, second is this corolla, okay. Wait, let me tell you properly. See, the first one is this green color, calyx, okay. Then this is the calyx. Then comes the colorful corolla, okay. Then comes this anther and filament which is there. Both together, this is the androecium, that is the male reproductive part. Then comes the stigma, style, and the ovary is over here. So all this together, okay, they are going to represent gynoecium. So main, how many are there? 4 oles are there. One is the calyx, second is the corolla, third is the androecium, and the fourth one is the gynoecium. So see, so they are arranged from outside to inside. So first one is the calyx, second is the corolla, third is the androecium, and fourth is the gynoecium. Now androecium and gynoecium are called essential oles because they perform the function of reproduction. Now this is called as the essential oles. Which one? The androecium and the gynoecium, okay. This anther and stigma, anther and filament, and the stigma, style, and ovary, that is the gynoecium. These are the essential oles. Why? Because they are going to take part in the reproduction. And then the calyx and corolla, they are the accessory oles. Why? Because they are going to protect this essential oles, okay. They will be protecting the essential oles. Which one? This accessory oles. So which are the accessory oles? That is the calyx and corolla, the outermost. See, this calyx and the corolla, these two outer parts which are there, they are going to cover this, okay. They are going to protect this inner parts which are essential for reproduction. That is, it is going to protect gynoecium and androecium. Once again, let me tell you which are the essential parts, that is the androecium and the gynoecium are the essential oils, and which are the accessory oils, calyx and corolla. Now why this calyx and corolla are the accessory oils? Because they are going to protect this androecium and gynoecium. Members of calyx are called as sepals and they are green colored. So you know this calyx is also called as sepals. Members of corolla are called as petals and they are variously colored. So you must have seen the petals of different flowers, isn't it? They are different colored. Some are red, some are yellow. You must have seen purple, blue, green, yellow, orange, right? Yes. So see, a flower is called as bisexual if both poles, that is the androecium and gynoecium, are present in the same flower. So when do we call the flower as bisexual? When both androecium, you have seen in this hibiscus plant, both androecium and gynoecium, they are present in the same flower. So such type of flower is called as bisexual flower. A flower is called as unisexual if any one of the above mentioned two oils is present in the flower. If only androecium is present, it is male flower. If only gynoecium is present, it is female flower. So you know this androecium male flower, if only that is present in the flower, okay, then see, in some flowers only this androecium is present and in some only this what gynoecium is present. Many flowers have the stalk for support called as pedicel and such flowers are called as pedicellate, whereas flowers without stalk is called as sessile. You know some flowers they are going to have this pedicel. See the stick like which is there, okay, that is going to be called as pedicel. So some flowers they are going to have pedicel for support and some flowers they do not have. So the flowers which are going to have this pedicel for support they are called as pedicellate and the flowers which do not have this stalk are called as sessile flowers. Androecium is male whole and its members are called as stamens. Gynoecium is female flower and its members are called as carpels. So you know the androecium which is a male whole. So what does this androecium consist of? Filament, isn't it? And filament, and you can see over here, see filament and anther. This is the male flower, that is the male part, male whole, and the gynoecium which is the female part, it consists of stigma, style and ovary. And this gynoecium, okay, its membranes are called as carpels and androecium's parts are called as stamens. Members of gynoecium are called as carpels. This may be separate or united. Ovary is present at the basal end of each carpel. So you know the ovary which is there, it is present at the basal end. You can see over here, this here at the basal end ovary is going to be present. A hollow style comes up from the ovary. So you know a hollow style, okay, that is going to come up from the ovary. Stigma is present at the tip of style. Ovary contains one or many ovules. Embryo sac is formed in each ovule by meiosis. So what is going to happen here? The ovary, you know, it is going to contain one, or you can see here, wait, let me show you in this picture. you can see this hollow which is going to come up from the ovary, that is going to be the style, okay, and at the end of this style you can see there is the stigma, okay, and stigma is present. And the ovary, at the base which is there are many ovules which are going to be present. So, one small video I am going to show you to make clear all this. So, embryo sac is formed in each ovule by meiosis. Each embryo sac consists of a haploid egg cell and two haploid polar nuclei. So, this, embryo sac which is there, it consists of haploid egg cell as well as there are two haploid polar nuclei. Okay, now see. Pollen grains from anther are transferred to the stigma. Now this embryo sac which is there, it consists of haploid egg cell and two haploid polar nuclei. Pollination occurs with the help of that is pollination grains from anther are transferred to the stigma. Now see, let me tell you, this pollen grains which are there, okay, they are going to get transferred from anther to the stigma. Wait, let me show it to you. See, here are the pollen grains. You must have seen those yellow color pollen grains. That is when you touch your finger or there's anything to it, it gets sticked, those yellow color pollen grains. So, this pollen grains, okay, they get transferred into this stigma. So, naturally, it's going to enter this tube. So, see, this is called as pollination. Pollination occurs with the help of abiotic agents and biotic agents. Now you might be thinking the pollen grains, okay, how it gets transferred. See, the pollen grains are over here, isn't it? Pollen grains are over here. Now how are this going to get transferred into the stigma? So they get transferred over there by the biotic agents or abiotic agents. So which are the abiotic agents? Might be due to the wind, due to water. Then biotic agents might be insects, they might sit, there's butterflies, then all types of insects. They sit on this pollen grains, the pollen grains stick to it and then they go and sit on the stigma. So what happens over here? The pollen grains get transferred into the stigma. Stigma becomes sticky during pollination. So then the stigma, because of the pollination, it becomes sticky. Pollens germinate when they fall upon each stigma, a sticky stigma, that is a long pollen tube, and two male gametes are formed. So what is going to happen when the pollen grains gets transferred to stigma? The stigma will become sticky, okay, and then a long pollen tube will grow and two male gametes are going to be formed. The pollen tube carries male gamete, okay, so the pollen tube which is there, it is going to, see, you can see here over here, see, the pollen grain has got transferred over here, and because of this you can see this light pink color, okay, that is the pollen tube which grows, okay, and the two male gametes are formed, you can see over here. The pollen tube, it reaches the embryo sac, okay, so this is the embryo sac, isn't it? This is the embryo sac. So the pollen tube which is there, it enters this embryo sac. Tip of the pollen tube bursts and the two male gametes are released in the embryo sac. Now what happens is the tip of this tube, it gets burst open and the two male gametes which has been formed, it gets released in this embryo sac. So then the one male gamete unites with the egg cell to form zygote. So this is fertilization. Now you know, see, remember, two male gametes had been formed, isn't it? Two male gametes had been formed, but one male gamete will combine with one of the ovules, okay, and what happens, egg cell, that is it forms a zygote by the union of male gamete and the egg cell. So this is going to be called as fertilization. Then you know, one more male gamete is there. Two male gametes had been formed. One male gamete combined with the egg cell to form zygote. One more gamete is there. So that gamete which is there, that will unite with the two polar nuclei and endosperm is formed. So as two nuclei participate in this process, okay, it is going to be called as double fertilization. So you can see the diagram, okay. Now see, do you know, when pollination involves only one flower or two flowers borne on same plant, it is called as self-pollination. Whereas if it involves two flowers borne on two plants of same species, it is cross-pollination. You know, what happens is, you know, in the hibiscus flower you saw, that is the same flower was bearing the male as well as female gamete, and the pollination took place in the same flower, isn't it? Yes, of the same plant. So that is going to be called as the self-pollination. Now if two flowers, okay, on two plants, it was, you saw the upper flower in the same plant it took place, but if the pollination takes place between the flowers of the same species but two plants, okay, two plants, then it is going to be called as cross pollination. While discovering the new high yielding and resistant varieties of plant, scientists bring about the pollination with the help of brush. Now you know, we cannot just wait. If the scientists want to do some experiments, they cannot wait for this biotic or abiotic agents to bring about pollination. So what do? They do the pollination with the help of the brush. Now see, we will see a small video regarding the parts of the flowers. So if you see it practically, I am sure you will understand in a more better way. So you can see the green color. Those are the sepals, isn't it? So total 5 are there. Petals also you can see 5 petals are there, or it's called as corolla. So that is the male part, isn't it? The filament and yellow color you can see now. Anther. See, it's sticking to his hand, those yellow color pollen grains. This is very important, okay, regarding your there's some practical exam also. So these are the pollen grains and down is the filament attached to it. Now see, he is dissecting the tube-like thing, that is the stigma. So you can see inside a tube-like thing which has been formed, white color. A tube has been formed from the stigma, okay, at the tip to the ovary below at the base. So the below one white color you can see now. So that is the ovary, female part. So this whole thing is the female part and it is called as gynoecium. So sepals, episepals, so the petals is going to protect the inner part of the flower. Anther, filament, stigma. They are the male sex cells. Anthers, they produce the male sex cells. And this is the female part. Stigma, style and ovary. These are the episepals. The outer one and inner one is the sepals. So the sepals and the corolla, they protect the inner parts. That is the gynoecium and the androecium. So pollen grains, pistil. These are the petals.